Hello, how you doing? All right, it's another great day to do some coding. And we had a project today in class, and I asked the students to make this nav bar. Let me put it up right here. So this nav bar, just the nav bar without this hero section, just the nav bar in class. And I know I got a couple of um, comments from some students asking me to show them how I did mine. So I'm going to hop into that. So basically, I'm going to be constraining myself to everything you've learned in class. So we're going to be using display flex. We're going to be using align, justify properties, justify content. We're going to be using some box sizing, border box, some padding and some margin to design this. So you just follow me as I code along. All right. So first things first, I want to do is that I want to hop into Visual Studio because that's our text editor. I'm going to hop into Visual Studio right now. And I already have this live coding folder created, where I have my, let me open it right now. So I have my CSS inside here, my styles.css images, which we may not be needing for this code, but I also have my index.html, but let's open it up right now in Visual Studio Code. Now you could have your own folder. It really doesn't matter. All you need to do is have your index.html here inside your root folder. Then you have your CSS inside the CSS folder, your styles.css and your images. All right, so let's go over to VS Code. All right, so it's loading. All right, great. So I'm going to open up a folder. I'm going to open up the folder right now. And on my desktop, as you can see right here. So I'm coming here to live coding. So I'll open that up right now. All right, here we go. So we have this blank HTML here, and we have this blank CSS right here. So first things first, I'm just going to use this MS abbreviation, create this in my HTML. So I just did that right now. All right, great. So if that's an issue, I have a video it talks about how to create that. I think that's the day one makeup video. You could see how I created that. I just simply pressed the shift one and created this, got this exclamation mark, and I pressed tab and I generated this. So let me just call this, for example, let's call this demo navbar. Demo navbar, because it's a navigation bar we're creating. So demo navbar. All right, so first things first, I'm going to define, since it's a flex, we use flex to create this. I'm going to define a flex container in this nav. So I'm going to call nav and I'm going to give it a class of .nav. So I have a class, a nav element, and I'm giving it a class of nav. So it doesn't really matter what you call it, but I'm calling it nav, calling the class nav because it's easier for me to remember. So later I'm going to display this as flex, right? So let's just go on. Now, before I go on, let me just link my style sheet, right? Because for it to work, I need to link my style sheet to my HTML. So how to do that? Just press the link as I showed you. And then I have it in my CSS folder. So I'm going to just type this styles as CSS. So here we go. Good. So let's jump over to the main business. So we have the nav. Now I'm going to create, because what you see here, basically we have this um, item and then we have these items. Hope you can see that we have this item, we have these items. So I'm going to actually create two flex items. So this parent nav would have two flex items. It's going to have this one as one item, and this four should be four in one, also representing one item. So two items altogether. All right, if you don't understand, just watch me code and I believe you'll understand. And if you have any questions concerning this, drop your questions in the comment section and I'll respond to you. All right, let's move on. So we have this nav class. Let me launch this first on live server. Let's be sure that our code is fully functional. All right, let's be sure that our style sheet is working. Okay, so let me just type here demo, for example. Okay, it's working. Let me give this nav, for example, a style. Let me just be sure my style sheet is working. Let me give it a color of blue. No, black will still be the same, of blue. Oh, it's working. All right, good. So I can cancel this. Let's get back to business. All right, demo. I'm going to clean this right now, wipe this off. All right, good, good. Okay, so first thing says I'm going to define this healthcare. Now, I'm going to define these things as links, as A tags, anchor tags, because usually you should have on these navigation items, there should be links leading you to some specific places on your page. They should help you navigate to some specific pages in your website. All right, but in this context, these are just um, dummy links. So I'm not really going to put in anything inside them, but you get the point, right? So it's just to write an A here, an A tag. So, and then inside I'm going to write healthcare, healthcare. All right, I'm going to write it exactly as is here so that, it will render that way. So let me just see what it looks like here. Okay, so we are good, healthcare. All right. Now, next, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a div. So I'm going to create a div, and I'm going to say, call it a div of side nav. Why am I calling it side nav? Because these navigation items are the side. All right, so I'm calling them side nav. All right, I hope you get that. Now, side nav has 4 items inside it. It has corona updates, corona updates, corona updates. Now, if you're kind of confused how I managed to just get this extra three tags by just, you just saw that appear on the screen, it's quite simple. All I did was that I came here and I pressed Control Shift down, or rather Shift alternate down, and then, it sort of creates this. That may seem a little bit complex for you, so just create it manually if you're having issues with that. But basically, I'm here to teach you Flexbox. So let's focus on the business at hand. So Corona updates. All right, is the first one. The next is help. The next is about. The next is contact. Let's save that right now. All right, so let's see what we have. So this is what we have on our page. We have this healthcare up here, and then we have this guy here, because you see this is a block level element, so it's coming down here to occupy this whole line. All right, so what I want to do quickly is that I want to set this nav, this class of nav, I want to set it to display flex. All right, so let me do that right now. Display nav, display flex, flex. All right, can you see this? So once I flex this, what was going to happen? You see, even if this was a block level element, because it is now a flex item, is inheriting its flexible property from the parent. I told you about inheritance, how that the child inherits the property of the parent. So these are flex children, for example. So in this context, nav has two flex children. It has this one and this other one, side nav, which are both its flex children. Does it make sense? All right, so let's go on. So I have healthcare. Now this is now a flex item. These are now flex items. So what I want to do is that, look at this, our project. They sort of spanned through the width of the container which they are on. So I'm going to try to achieve that right now. So one way to do that is that I'm going to use what I taught you guys in class, which is justify content of space between. Now what this will do is that it will push, let me do that right now so you see it. It will sort of push the nav items, it will push them to the extreme. So it will keep this nav item, this flex item rather, at the extreme left, and push this one to the extreme right to ensure that there is a space between them. I hope that makes sense. All right, so let's see. But you realize that basically we don't have, our styling here seems a little bit off, because we have this sort of bluish kind of color, faded blue sort of, and then each of them are underlined because they are all links, right? But we don't want this in our original, in our code. So what we're going to do, see, this is what we have in this code, and we don't want this in our code. So what I want to do is that I want to sort of style these a anchor tags. So I want to style these anchor tags. I want to make sure that these anchor tags, the underline is removed from them, which is this. So I'm going to style that right now, A, and I'm going to say text decoration, none. Oh, you see, so the underlines are all gone. Can you see that? So text decoration is none. So that underline was a text decoration. So setting this property to none removes every sort of text decoration that there was, on the element that was targeted. All right. So in this context, it was our A that was targeted, and we have set the text decoration to none. So we have no more underlining on each of the flex items. Now, next, I want to set the color to black, right? Because primarily, we have lots of blacks here. So these are all blacks. And if you watch this, the fonts look pretty bold also. So we're also going to set the font weight to bold. The font weight to bold. All right. So which is good. All right, so that's good. So we just set the font weight to bold. So we are doing pretty good so far. So good. Now, next thing I want to do is that I want to make sure that we have spaces between um, these items right here. I have spaces between them. And there are a bunch of ways to do that. Now look at my code. I don't have spaces between them. You see this? I don't have the amount of spaces I have here. The one way to do this is that I can set side nav right here. I can set it to display flex. It means once I do this, I set side nav to display flex, automatically these become flex children. As a result of that, I can apply some flex properties to them. Let me show you what I mean in a minute. So let me set this to display of flex. All right, so once I said this, nothing would basically happen because by default, once you declare display flex, the items are set to a flex direction of row. So basically nothing happens. But right now, I can insert this property of column gap. So once I do this, I said there's a column gap of something like, let's say 5px, for example. You see, I now have some spaces between them. Let me make this 15. So you can see this right now. I now have some spaces between them. So you see these spaces, you see these spaces, you see these spaces. All right, so these two are together. So I'm talking about these two are treated as one. Then you see this space here between, you see the space here between, you see the space here between. So I'm trying to emulate that in my code. So let me set it to 20. Let's see what I think 20 looks a little bit like it. All right, good. So I just set the the column gap to 20. So I think we are doing good. We are doing pretty good. All right, the next thing I want to do is that I want to sort of get this color that was used. Now, I'm not really going to bother myself much with the color. I believe that you guys have seen my GitHub repo, so you can afford to check the code itself and get the right color codings that we are used. And just in case you've not seen my GitHub repo, I'm going to put the link in the description. And then be sure to also check. I have a video that talks about how to download projects from my GitHub repo. So you could check that and also follow along. But basically everything you need, the color coding, everything you need for this is specified in the project 2 in the list of projects I have in my GitHub. So you're going to see right there. And just in case you've not seen the link, I'm going to paste it in the description below. So check it out. All right, so but I'm not going to bother myself with the exact colors. I'm just going to code along and let you understand the basic concepts of flex. All right, so having done this, I'm going to set here a background. Right now, I'm trying to emulate this color. So I'm going to set a background of, let's say a background color of white smoke. White smoke. So once I do this, oh no, sorry. I'm going to set that background color in the nav class because that's the parents. All right, so I'm setting that right here. So once I set that, you see that it sort of covers everywhere. But realize that you have some spaces still. You see, you have some spaces here and you have some spaces here at the extreme. This nav bar is not cutting, is not covering the whole page. So, but I want, look at this. This sort of covers everywhere. You see this. So one way to do this is that I can come to the body, and set a margin of 0, set a padding of 0. All right. So I just did that. Now, basically, look what happens. The uh, default margins and paddings that were set around, that were set in the body, by doing this, I set them to 0. So by default, right now, we don't have any margins, neither do we have any paddings in this in the body of our HTML. Hope that makes sense. All right, let's go along. So let's look at the original code. All right, so here we see that we have spaces in between. Now there are lots of ways to do this, but since I haven't taught you some of the much more tech savvy ways to go about this, I'm just going to use paddings to achieve this. At least we learned about box sizing and then we learned about the concept of paddings. All right, so I'm going to achieve this with paddings. So I'm going to put a padding top and a padding bottom right here inside my nav at the top and at the bottom. So I'm going to put the padding top of say 10 px. Let me do that and see what it looks like. All right, I'm going to put the padding bottom of 10 px too. All right, so you see it's sort of, it's not yet as wide as this, so I'm going to put some more. Actually, let's put some more. Let's make this this is 10. So let's make it 30. Let's see what it looks like. 30, sorry about that. 30, 30. Okay, this seems a little bit better. All right, seems a little bit better for me. All right, so good. But realize that I still have healthcare right here. It's sort of sticking to the container. So look at the original one. It's out. Here is also out. I hope you can see this. So there's some spacing here or some padding or margin whatsoever. But the bottom line is that there's some spacing in between the item itself and the edge of the viewport. So I want to achieve something similar. So there are a bunch of ways to do this. I could say, okay, we have the nav, which is this, and is the parent, obviously. So inside the nav, I could give it some paddings. All right, I could give it some paddings. I could say it has a padding um, right, for example, of 5 px. So let me do that. So watch what happens. This sort of shifts to the right. Did you notice that it's no more at the edge? So let me see what this looks like from here. Okay, I think I still need to add, let's make it 10 px, 10 px. So we are padding right 10 px and padding left 10 px. All right, let's deal with paddings. Okay, so this is what we have. This looks a little bit better. All right, it looks a little bit better. Good. Now the next thing I want to do is that I want to make sure that these have this orange color. These have this orange like color. Like I said, you could check up the original color coding, or probably I could just get it for you. But basically, I would advise that you just look at my GitHub link and you download the projects and you look them up for yourself, because it will help you learn better. Anyway, so I want to give you this orange color. So I'm gonna come here and I want it to be on this Corona updates, and I also want it to be on healthcare. So on Corona updates, I'm going to give this a class of orange. All right, so here we go, orange. Oh, sorry about that. I think my system Let's change. Okay, let me put it back on US. Sorry about that. Okay, orange. I'm going to give it a class of orange. All right. And I'm going to give, because this corner of this has this orange color, then I'm going to give healthcare a class of orange. Healthcare. I'm going to give it a class of orange. Now, once I save this, realize nothing happens because I'm yet to style orange here in my CSS. So just to do that, I'm going to come here, and this class orange, I'm going to give it a color. A color has to do with the text color. Background color has to do with the background of the element you selected. All right, so I hope that makes sense. So color orange, let's give it orange. Or it's a little bit orange red, I think. I think it's orange red. All right, so I think that's pretty close. Orange red. Orange red. All right, so basically this is how you style this. Now what's left is that you can, okay, let me go back to the original code. I think that's project 2. Project 2. So you should have this if you've downloaded the projects. So let me come to my style and open it up for project 2. Let me see. Okay, this was the original color, so let me copy this color right here, copy it, and use that same color right here. All right, and next thing I want to copy the background of the nav, the color, to make sure yeah. Okay, so the background was actually ghost white. Oh, not white smoke, ghost white. All right, so ghost white. And finally, I want to copy the font family that was used. So what font family was used was, this was the font family that was used for the body. So I'm going to copy it. All right, and I think that will be all for now. All right, so I'm going to close this right now, and then I'll open this. Okay, so I'm here to insert, let me insert this right here, the font family. Now I'm going to set the font family in the nav. Now if I set it in the nav, what will happen is that every item of the nav will naturally inherit the same font family. All right, so font family of this. So look at what happens. Because I set it in the nav, every single nav item or every single child of the nav item naturally inherits the property that was set in the parent. So .nav here is the parent of these guys. So these guys naturally inherit the font family. Can you see this? All right, so basically we've been able to create this simple, you see it, you see this demo navbar is the one we just created. This, we have corona updates just like we have right here. So we've been able to create a clone sort of this navbar using the concept of display flex, and box model. That's concept of paddings. And basically this was a fun project. There's a lot to be done actually, but I believe that understanding or building of websites, a navbar is an inevitable section of your page. So it's good you understand the concept of building navigation bars and styling them accordingly. All right, so this is how I did mine. Show me how you did yours. Let me hear how you did yours. Send me pictures, send me videos, and then we'll see in class. All right, so take care. Have a good night's rest. Bye.